Ladies and gentlemen, you are noticing a lot of birds these days around you in the gardens. They are there for a purpose. They are building nests. For the nests, they need material. They need the nest to lay their eggs, hatch the eggs, and see to it that the young ones grow up to be able to fly off by themselves. But in order to build a nest, they have started with a very small baby step of picking up twigs from your garden. So you can see that a project as huge as bringing young ones into this world has started with a small action of picking up a twig from the garden. I am a police officer and I was posted in 1984 as the police superintendent of a district called Barabanki. And soon after joining the police force, I had realized that the challenges that a police officer faces are of two kinds: big challenges and very big challenges. But then there is a third kind also, which is an exception. The third kind is the biggest challenges. And soon after being posted to Barabanki, I saw what this third category means, the biggest challenge. Barabanki produces opium legally, but a part of the legally produced opium is pilfered into the black market and is turned into drugs. This market, this parallel black market of opium, is something that is a huge problem for the law enforcement agencies. My challenge was to neutralize this activity. I was told to do this by my bosses when I joined here. I was looked upon as somebody, being an artist, being one who loved the good things like sports, gardening, art in my life. I was generally seen as somebody soft, softer than the hardened policeman, the cop who has to look as brute as he can, as robust as he can project himself to be. But my entire personality was revolving around my basic artistic instinct. So I was to address my problems the way I could. When I reached Barabanki, I realized that I had to think of my own methods. Luckily, within days of my joining in Barabanki, a young woman of 20 years of age came to my office. I was surprised to see that this 20-year-old girl was decked up from head to toe in jewelry, as if she was going to attend a marriage party or something. And I asked her why she was decked up like this. She said her problem was that her husband was behaving very oddly, and she feared that the husband will steal her jewelry and sell it in the market because he needed huge sums of money for some purpose he was not telling her. After some probe, I realized that this man had actually got involved in the drug business. Drug business being the opium illicit trade. Huge money is involved in this. Those who run this business have money, they have black money of enormous proportions. Therefore, they are in a position to neutralize the people who are supposed to control these activities. The politicians are paid off by them, police officers are paid off by them, other officials who have the responsibility to put a stop to this are also neutralized by these drug lords. So, having understood the problem that this lady was facing, I also realized that here was an opportunity for me to help this lady. I could see the turmoil she was going through, as well as use her husband as for my purposes of developing an information base by which I could address the problem that I was to face, that I was to solve. Having understood that this victim could turn into my asset, I then strategized on these lines. And others who came to me with similar problems, I used to look at them with the possibility of utilizing their emotions, raw human emotions of a wife, of a mother, of a brother, of a teacher, and people like those who would look at these loved ones with a lot of concern that they were going in the wrong direction and they would like to help the police so that this problem is minimized in the society and their children are also taken out of this problem. So having understood that there was this possibility of using the basic human emotions of these victims for my purpose, I started talking to a lot of them, getting their inputs in the problems, and then going ahead using this information base to build on the information that my own sources in the society and in my department, the intelligence department, were collecting. So they were collecting the information that they could. This information which came to me from these victims could be built into a larger and broader base for addressing the problem of the drug trafficking in the district. So here you can see that the small beginning of meeting these people, small beginning of understanding their emotions, rather than looking at them as wrongdoers, I was looking at them as victims of something that was happening in the society. And therefore, I thought that while I am helping them get out of the problem, I will also be able to build for myself a situation where I can address the big problem of the drug menace in the state, in the district. As a matter of fact, what happened in my district was a problem for not merely the state, but also the country, because this drug which was produced in that district was being carried to international borders, across the international borders to countries like Pakistan, and this money being generated with this illicit trade was also being used in some places for larger wrongdoings like international terrorism. So this is one way to illustrate. This is one uh, example to illustrate that a small action can lead to a huge success. Before I describe what the big success was, let me once again remind you that all of this has begun with a small action of lending an ear to people who came with their problems to me, so that I could build on the intelligence resource that they could provide to me. The other small step that I took was to improve the intelligence gathering within my department. I started new techniques whereby people in the intelligence setup would be able to reach out to sources who were actually in the know of things from the ground upwards and were able to bring to my people in the intelligence department the information that could be used for action that we later took. I also improved my staff by posting the right persons to the police stations for the purpose that I meant them to be used for. In one case, I chose a person who was close to retirement for a very active police station. A lot of people questioned that idea because they said that he's too old for that kind of active position. My understanding was that he was ideal for that position because we needed his kind of person. So my ability to understand the human value of a person became important rather than the basic record this person carried or his age. So this was the other step that I took to post people to the police stations who would do the right thing as is expected of a fair person, of a person who is integrity wise above reproach. Then we would like to understand what was the big achievement we did. With these people in place, my informers, the informers who were helping the intelligence department, the right staff in the police stations, the resources of the police stations as far as criminal intelligence is concerned, all this put together, and the excellent management of the records that we did. I paid a special emphasis on keeping the records well. So all this put together, all of them are small steps individually, but all these put together made a formidable combination to be able to address the big problem and lead us to huge success. Now, what was the huge success we achieved? In a period of less than 2 years, we could uh, round up close to 14 quintals of opium. That is 1400 kilograms of opium in the district, which was more than the entire opium collected by the state of Uttar Pradesh, and which till date remains the record for the largest opium haul ever made by police. So this happened only because we took the smallest steps to begin with. On many occasions, we came face to face with these criminals. We had serious challenges to our lives. We had serious challenges to the well-being of people in the family and elsewhere. Yet we were not deterred from continuing with this. And so the point that I want to emphasize here is that for achieving the biggest things, for achieving something very big, huge, and of proportions which make records, you have to take small steps. So you have to think big, maybe you have to act small to begin with. So if I were to encapsulate what I did differently, I will say that I thought big. The thought was that I had to challenge this mafia setup, and I knew that I had to take small steps to to meet this challenge. What were the small steps that I took? I thought of innovative methods. I didn't go by what was attempted earlier by my predecessors for the simple reason that they had not been able to achieve what they wanted to. The second was I was sensitive to the victims. I looked at victims as people who could help me in collecting information. Rather than looking at them as criminals and putting them behind bars for being addicts, I tried to help them out of their misery. Thirdly, I took painstaking care to make sure that the records were properly made, the records were properly maintained. Then I put people who were sensitive and on my page into positions where they could act as per my requirements, as per the requirements of the plan I had made. And these people were put at the police stations with the knowledge that they are incorruptible and they will be acting in the best interest of the objective that we were to achieve. And I personally tried, if I may say so, to lead by example by not indulging in things which a police officer should not. So, from the story that I've just related to you, we can conclude that the largest opium bust in history actually happened because some baby steps were taken. And the baby steps that were taken were based on the understanding of the people's problems, the strife that victims were facing, the sensitive handling of people who came to me. So, what I can conclude from this is that for reaching the largest goals, you have to start with small baby steps. Thank you very much.